Share sound. So yeah, if you're not currently on mute, go ahead and go on mute so people can hear. And I'll mute myself once I get this going.
Great, thank you.
Fighting to get his daughter back under extraordinary circumstances. His girlfriend delivered the baby and put her up for adoption without telling him. My Nightline co-anchor Juju Chang shows us what this dad did next and how his actions are shining a light on the issue of fathers' rights.
Sometimes all you can do is cry, you know? That's all you can do.
Unlike many fathers, when Chris Emanuel remembers his daughter's birth, it fills him with pain.
Missing out on the first moments of my daughter's life, not seeing that first touch, that first hug. You can't put it into words of how you feel. You know, you can only but imagine.
He missed those precious moments because his girlfriend secretly gave birth without telling him, texting him this picture of her baby bump 8 days after she delivered.
All of them were lies.
And there was another agonizing twist. She'd already put baby Skylar up for adoption without his permission.
What went through your mind?
Is she safe? And not knowing, you know, where my daughter is and who got her, you can only but imagine how I felt.
And so began a harrowing legal battle for Emanuel to win his baby girl back, navigating the thorny legalities of father's rights, all while Skylar's living with an adoptive family.
My daughter was stole from me, so I asserted my rights, but my rights were stripped of me.
It was 3 years ago when Emanuel met Skylar's mom at work. He now refers to her sarcastically as the egg donor. He says they started off as friends before it escalated into something more.
This is where me and the egg donor actually met. We worked at a manufacturing company driving forklifts. I love the fact that she would communicate, her communication skills.
They texted all the time, affectionate messages, soon turning flirtatious. And 3 months later, Emanuel was overjoyed to learn he was going to be a dad.
I was happy. Who wouldn't be happy? You know, this is my first child. And at that time, I was like, you know, I'm going to be here. You know, we're going to do everything we got to do. You know, talked about moving in. Well, let me meet your parents. I want your parents to, you know, see the type of person I am.
After a long-awaited meeting between both families, Emanuel says he knew in no uncertain terms her parents were dead set against him, even accusing the family of racism.
Hearing racism, but actually feeling it is totally different. It's like being punched in the stomach. When we left, she reassured me that we would continue to, you know, raise our child together.
Her mother says Emanuel is a liar. She says she disapproved of their relationship, not because of the color of his skin, but because he didn't have a job. Emanuel says his girlfriend started to avoid meeting in person, asking him to skip doctor's appointments.
She was saying that her mom was coming and I didn't need to come. Like, well, dang, why can't I come to the doctor appointment? If I can't come to the doctor appointment, I can't even think about being there to witness my child's birth.
Her behavior raised red flags for Emanuel's tight-knit family. 6 months before Skylar's birth, his half-sister and her best friend suspected his girlfriend might give the baby away.
I said, I don't think the egg donor's keeping the baby. He was like, you know, no, she is. We're going to get married and we're moving in together. And they had plans. And I said, okay, but I still went home and started researching, started looking up fathers' rights in South Carolina.
Here's what she found. South Carolina is one of at least 25 states that has what's called a Responsible Father Registry. Unwed dads can sign up to be notified if their child is put up for adoption, but very few people even know about the list. In Emanuel's home state, 30,000 children were born out of wedlock, yet less than 300 men signed up. The problem is, if you don't register, you could end up losing your parental rights.
And it can be used by lawyers for prospective adoptive parents to say, oh, the person hasn't filed, hasn't put their name on the list, then we're free and clear to move forward with this adoption.
At first, Emanuel didn't want to sign the registry, but when his girlfriend failed to show up at a family-planned baby shower, he got nervous.
He called me up one day and he was like, hey sis, well, what was that website that you and Jill were telling me about? And he said, I'm gonna do it right now.
Days later, a knock on the door and shocking news. Papers showing Emanuel's girlfriend had given birth almost a week earlier and had given their daughter to an adoptive family in another state.
Only thing that mattered was me getting my daughter.
Emanuel refuses to give up his parental rights and immediately confronts his girlfriend, who admits the deception. You misled me. You played me. You lied to me numerous times. I can't take back what I've done. Emanuel rushes to contest the adoption and hires attorneys Kamaki Nichols-Graham and Jennifer Mook.
How critical was the fact that he had registered?
If he hadn't signed up for the registry, he would have never known about this. There would have been no other recourse. He would have had no way of knowing.
In an ironic twist, it's baby Skylar's mixed race that gave Emanuel's girlfriend a loophole. An old South Carolina law only allows difficult-to-adopt children to be sent across state lines. Only kids 6 or older or with physical, mental, or emotional disabilities. Or in Skylar's case, mixed race.
What dad is not supposed to be there for their child? The greatest aspect a child can have is their father's protection.
But the out-of-state adoptive couple were lied to as well, told the baby's father was out of the picture. They sent Emanuel a heartfelt email describing it as a last plea from desperate adoptive parents who love Skylar with all of our hearts, assuring him that she will go to the best schools.
What was your reaction to them?
Nobody can love my daughter the way I can. You can't take me from my daughter. Give me my daughter. That's all that matters.
Although she wouldn't talk to ABC News, in a letter to the court, Emanuel's girlfriend said she felt that he could not provide for them and that Skylar would be better off with the adoptive parents in a loving, devoted, and stable home.
How tough a fight is that for an unwed father?
It's surprisingly hard to prove that they wanted the child. There used to be this presumption that if you wanted to be a father, you'd be married.
What Emanuel did have were pages and pages of texts that he says prove he was an engaged and devoted dad-to-be, and that his then-girlfriend deliberately lied to him about his daughter's birth. After 3 long months, the court made its decision, granting full custody to Emanuel. Now a single dad, raising her with an enthusiastic assortment of aunts, uncles, and grandparents who make up Team Skylar.
All I could do was break down on my knees. I cried and I thank God for bringing my daughter home.
Jennifer Mook says the outcome of Emanuel's custody battle is rare. She says in most adoption cases, dad's rights are often ignored, which is why Emanuel is starting a foundation and talking to media outlets like The Atlantic.
We're talking about fundamental rights. The right to parent is a fundamental right. It can be trampled on very easily in these scenarios.
In your opinion, what makes the right family for Skylar?
In my opinion, the biological family should be the first choice to raise children if they're fit and willing. I don't think somebody who has money is going to raise a child better than somebody who doesn't.
2 weeks after the judge granted Emanuel custody, the adoptive parents reluctantly brought baby Skylar back to South Carolina.
My baby.
What was it like to hold your daughter for the first time?
I felt her breath for the first time, seeing her eyes, seeing her touch. It was like I lost a part of me. I felt whole again, having my daughter for the first time where she's supposed to be. It's a moment that is irreplaceable.
For Nightline, I'm Juju Chang in Aiken, South Carolina.
The story of one father fighting to get his...
Great. Thanks, Jen, for showing that. For those of you that just joined us, there you are. Hey, Christopher.
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me?
Good. Yes, we can. We're a little out of order tonight, but that's okay. We're glad
Hey,
that
Marcie, we can't hear you.
Pardon, Jennifer? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said so. So we're going to go backwards a little bit. So we just wanted to go ahead and show that while we were waiting for you to join us. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. So I'd like to go back and just kind of, welcome everybody to another episode of Adoption Happy Hour brought to you by NAAP. We are the National Association of Adoptees and Parents, where it is our mission to unify the adoption community and elevate our diverse voices by promoting dialogue, understanding, and healing through education, awareness, and connections. I'm Marcie Keithley, board president and host for this evening, along with board member Jennifer Falsing, Beth Story, and Ann Criswell is also with us this evening. So we're excited that so many of you are joining us tonight. If you haven't already, please take a moment to go into the chat room, say hello to Christopher, let him know what, if you're an adoptee or a first parent or an adoptive parent, and where you're viewing from. So again, we're really excited to have you. But before we start, Jennifer, we've got a couple of slides we want to begin with. If you could go ahead, please.
Hang on a second. I had the video queued up, so I gotta switch.
Okay.
Where is it? Okay. So these are all of our upcoming programs. Just wanted to run over them kind of in list form here, just because of the holiday. There might be a little bit of switch. The 15th is David Bowles, Adoptee Path to Recovery. The 27th is Dr. Joyce McGuire Pavo, Putting Yourself Together After Reunion. 12/29, Self-Love Essentials for the Adoption Constellation with Danielle Gaudet. And then Amber Jimerson is taking off the month of December, but she is coming back in January. And this is the First Families group, and the title is Navigating Openness and Adoption, and her guest is Amy Seek. So that is the event, and I can drop in the links to all those.
Great.
And then Beth, is there anything else you wanted to talk about, or was that everything for right now?
Regular welcome, Marcie.
Pardon?
Yeah.
You want a regular? Do you have that, Jen?
Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead.
I have the new one.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't have it up because I had the
Okay.
film.
Get it right here in a second.
Okay, thanks, Beth. We just wanted to remind everyone this is a public meeting with no guarantee that information or identity is confidential. Portions of this event are recorded and may be shared in our private happy hour group on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. So if you don't follow us on Facebook, it's under Adoption Happy Hour. That's where Christopher's replay will be shown. Please remain on mute, raise your hand on screen or the virtual hand to be recognized. You're welcome to post questions or comments as we chat. Also, if you are experiencing a serious mental health event or suicidal thought, please contact a licensed professional or the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline by dialing 988. Is that everything? Don't we have one more?
Nope, that's everything.
Is that it? Is that it? Okay. Yeah, well, I'll just go ahead and share them because we're going to talk about next week. We're going to have Dr. Abby with us back again for our holiday party. So stay tuned. We'll be talking to you a little bit about that. So we'd like everybody to come next week in your holiday gear or whatever you want to do just to have some fun. We're going to have a couple of little giveaways. So we're looking forward to next week. And that's really going to end out December, and we'll be starting fresh in January of January 6th. And you'll be seeing some announcements about that. So, okay. So Christopher, you waited long enough. Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, first off, thank you for the invite. Definitely super excited to operate in this space. Thank you for the work that you do, and just really creating a platform for so many across the world to really be able to just speak on the importance of knowing who you are, right? And knowing where you come from, and the importance of preserving families. It is truly an honor and a privilege being able just to serve in this capacity. Really quick, I just want to make sure that I can pause. I know that I didn't get on in time, so I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me well and there aren't any technical difficulties. So if you can just give me a thumbs up, just to let me know that, you all can hear me, or put it on the emoji. I really appreciate it. Okay, awesome. So I guess I'll start out like this. Do you think it's fair that one parent can decide if a child is placed for adoption? Do you think it's fair that one parent can decide if a child is placed for adoption? If somebody could drop that in the chat for me, that'd be pretty cool. Do you think it's fair that one parent can place a child up for adoption. Right? So again, my name is Christopher Emanuel. I train agencies, organizations, and universities on non-marital paternity, parental rights, and adoption in relation to the Responsible Father Registry. I do want to bring this to your attention. I don't have any letters behind my name as of yet. I got fathers in these organizations that I work with through my experiences, right? And the whole intent and the goal is to really teach them about their deepest why, right? Understanding who they are and where they're from, and how are we creating safe spaces that are gender specific and trauma responsive, not necessarily providing therapy, but it's therapeutic, right? What are we doing to best engage not only moms, but what are we doing to engage dads? What are we doing to bring them together? And we do that through training. I do that through seminars, coaching. I have a clothing line, by the way, and I was actually just leaving the event. Usually I have my shirt and my tie on, but we do that through fashion. And most importantly, is one-on-one coaching and consulting so that we can actually begin to create stronger families. And when we have stronger families, we have stronger communities. And that's what it's all about. And for me, and I'm sure that you all would agree, if we can't come together for the sake of our children, what can we truly come together for? Right? The law benefits off of fatherlessness. The system benefits off of families being separated, right? Families fighting. And, being in this space 10 years ago, if somebody would have asked me, I would have been like, speaking across the world, traveling, nah, that's not me. I'm gonna run track. Yeah, I'm gonna stick to what I know. But it's definitely been a true honor and a privilege. And one of the things that I realized that everything I asked for came on the other side of pain, and just really being obedient to, what it was that I was designed to do, right? And being a dad for me is the most important job. And it's no disrespect to any of the believers or non-believers, but it's the most important job to me under God, and what it really means to, take care of my family. And, being in that space is understanding, like I always said, I would be a great dad, but no one ever told me what I have to go through to be that great dad, right? So now I'm on the other side. I went from the dad who fought and won to now the dad that helps others, be in this space. And I'll go into detail as to, how I got in this space, but now, being preserved in the Library of Congress, or being in the Atlantic or the New York Times or ABC Nightline News. I saw that video up when I logged on. I appreciate you sharing that. It really just gave us a platform to really tell the story. Words tell, stories sell. And 99% of dads who experience what I experienced fail, right? So you're listening to all of this and you hear a little bit of the success and, what I do. It's like, well, how did I get here, all right? How did you even get in the position to fight for your child? And I want to share that with you really quick. So it started back in 2012 when I met the biological mother. I used to call her egg donor, but as you get older, I don't know, did y'all watch the entire video? Did you play the video? You played the video? So you heard me say egg donor, right? I'm not gonna say I regret saying that, but due to my emotional intelligence at that time and just not being aware, I could have said something different, right? Because my daughter is going to grow up and hear that if I egg donor, and she's gonna be able to be curious. She's gonna know what that word means and like, Daddy, why you call my biological mom an egg donor? So I don't want to be a pessimist. I don't want to be negative in any sense at all. But anyway, I met her back in 2000 when I came back home, 2012, and we did everything together. She would help me at my mom's bar. We'll be playing pool. She loved racing. It was, she was so caring, right? And I felt as if in that time she accepted me for me. And we discussed about being married and what it was like to have a blended family. We literally had all the pros and cons already mapped out. Unfortunately in that space, she met a lot of my family, but her family was always out of town for whatever reason. And I didn't obviously get a chance to meet her family. And even then, being in that space in this time, I'm having a child, I'm excited, I'm elated. I say, okay, I already knew I wanted to be a great dad, but here's the opportunity now to step up and actually be that dad. And this time I was, transitioning to entrepreneur. So I didn't necessarily have a job or steady income coming in, but I'm a sneakerhead. I love clothes, I love fashion. And I sold my jerseys, I sold my hats, I sold my shoes. And that was for the purposes of being able to provide financially for her. And of course, I was there throughout the emotional support. I went to every prenatal doctor appointment, like literally every prenatal doctor appointment. And then she was diagnosed with gestational diabetes. So it was super duper important for her to eat healthy and make sure that she take her vitamins and, get her, rest and so forth. And that was super important to me because I wanted to be involved. I wanted to be engaged. And that's what I did, right? Fast forward, I did meet the biological mom, but the parents, she didn't approve of our, relationship. And it said it would be forbidden for her to date a nigga. And how would society view us as an interracial couple, and it like, wow. I had my mom there, of course. And just having the support of my mom, I didn't necessarily know what I was necessarily going into, but being in that space, but she reinforced and she gave me a piece saying that we were going to continue to move along, the biological mother, we were going to move along and, she was going to move in and so forth. So at this time, I'm just like, okay, what I got to do to just continue to create a safe space and make sure that, I can be there involved and engaged in my daughter's life. So at this time is December 2013, right? That was my December 26, 2013 was my actual last prenatal doctor's appointment, but she was kind of getting distant, right? And not necessarily distant to the point where I wasn't able to talk to her. Like I text her and I attempted to be there throughout the entire process, again, providing emotionally, financially, whatever support that I could. And I would read the Bible to my daughter while she was in the stomach, because I knew the importance of the mother's voice and my daughter hearing her voice. And I wanted to ensure that my child could hear my voice as well. So, I mean, it was a pretty, I enjoyed the moments that were building, I didn't necessarily see the challenge at the time, right? I was just so focused on just being a dad and being there. But in December, she didn't move in, and I couldn't go to the prenatal doctor's appointment in January 2014, and that kind of just brought concerns. I wasn't worried, but I was very concerned, the fact that I couldn't be there. And I started talking to my sister and her best friend, Jill, about the South Carolina Responsible Father Registry. And what that is for any father who feel they have fathered a child or about to father a child, it requires they be notified in the event the child is put up for adoption or if a father's rights are being terminated. So fast forward, she didn't want to have a baby shower. Like, let's be real. What woman don't want to have a baby shower? Maybe it's just me. That's just my humble opinion. What woman don't want to have a baby shower if you're bringing a spirit, your first child in this world? I'm like, okay, cool. So we decided to have a diaper bash. We had a diaper bash at my mother's bar and grill. And I invited all of my brothers. I mean, all my family came, diapers, wipes. I mean, the whole formula. I mean, we were ready. Unfortunately, she couldn't come. She said she was sick. So at that moment, when she couldn't come, I realized that, okay, it's time to register on the Responsible Father Registry. Like, I wasn't even going to register. I'm just going to be honest with you, because I just trusted her. I had so much loyalty, and I was just so committed. And, love can be blinding at times, right? I mean, that's just what it is. But when she wasn't able to come, I registered on February the 4th, 2014 on the Responsible Father Registry. And what it asked for was my name, the biological mother's name, my address, her address, conception date, right? The expected due date. And it gave me a confirmation number. And thank God that I knew all of that information. And that's just being proactive, because I asked a lot of questions. It was intentional, right? But fast forward, February the 10th, we had a really bad ice storm actually that year. And I called and I'm like, okay, at this time, from what I recall, I remember the doctor saying she's going to have to go to the doctor's appointment like every week at this point, all right? Instead of like once a month, like every week. I'm like, okay, well, when is your doctor's appointment? This is me talking to her. And she said that she didn't know. I'm like, you didn't know? I said, okay. So I called the OBGYN and I gave my information. They knew my name. They knew who I was. They saw me, right? I'm there. And they told me that the doctor's appointment was that day. was like, what, that day? So I hung up. Hey, sweetheart, you know you got a doctor's appointment today, right? Well, better yet, look, this is what we're gonna do. My ask is, when you get there, let me know so I can come meet you, because I got all this stuff from the diaper bags. You don't even have to get nothing. I got it. All right. Drove, right? And let me slow down. So that time came, like 3 hours passed. I'm like, dang it, no call. I'm calling, nobody's picking up. I'm like, okay. So I drove to the area where she lived. And I sat in the driveway for like 3 hours. Bag full of the diapers, the wash tub, the clothes, in my back seat, waiting for 3 hours. Still no call. I said, okay. Fast forward, like later that night, she finally texted back and said her stomach was hurting her. She was just, she was tired. I'm like, okay. And then we had the ice storm, and I'm just like, something ain't right. Mom, take me to the hospital. I need to go to the hospital right now. And having a loving mother that I do, she said that, Chris, you registered on the Responsible Father Registry. We're not going to know anything until the baby's born. I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna wait. I was like, nah, I gotta at least call. So I called the hospital, right? I called the hospital, and I heard some talking. Hey, what? Okay, all right. Somebody came back to the phone, got back off the phone, and came back. Oh yeah, she's not here. I'm like, why would you keep me on the phone? In my mind, I'm thinking, why would they keep me on the phone if she's not? I'm like, okay, whatever, cool. So February the 11th, we had that ice storm. Fast forward, my daughter's expected due date was February 15th. February 15th, 2014. So again, here I go, I'm calling, and she picked up, and I was like, hey, when is your next doctor's appointment? And she said that she didn't know. So you know what I did? What do you think I did? I called the OBGYN again, but this time, they wouldn't give you no information. I was like, what? I was like, okay, all right, I digress. And when I asked her about it, she was giving me the same information, or answering it the same way that the nurse was answering. I'm like, but you're saying the same thing. They like, huh? I'm like, okay, I'm not even gonna stress myself. You know, I'm stressed. I know I'm stressed. Now that I'm aware of my emotional intelligence, I was stressed. Oh my God. Anyway, February 19th came, and she was so excited, you all. Jennifer, yeah, Darlene, Mimi, and she was excited. Marcie, she was excited. And I was excited. I'm like, she excited, I'm excited. Okay, we good to go. Sent me a picture, beautiful tears coming down my eyes. Had on a black shirt, some little boots, some pants. I remember it. What? Beautiful moment. February 22nd came. I got a knock in my door. Oh, let me rewind. Hold up. February the 19th, not only did she send me the picture, she agreed that we were going to still name our daughter, Skylar, the full name, what we agreed on. And I was like, yeah, we good, Mama, we good. Mom, we good. Anyway, go back to February 22nd. February 22nd, I served by a private investigator. And my daughter was born the night of the ice storm. This time, there isn't one language that can describe how I failed. I was hurt. I was disappointed. Like, I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like, I'm like, what? And all I wanted was to be there for my child to see her birth. I immediately called, man, you lied. You played. Like, yo, you sent me a picture. You agreeing with me. You were happy because the baby was gone. No way. I was served on February 22nd with an improper notice of adoption proceedings. Yeah, drop that in the chat. I was served with an improper notice of adoption proceedings stating I had 30 days to contest the adoption, but I only had 10 days, and I was served the 9th day out of 10 days, that Saturday. So if I wouldn't have drove to Greenville, so I'm in Aiken. Greenville is 2 hours away. So hold on, let me pause for a minute. What happens is they put an ad in the newspaper saying that this baby is born. basically come claim your child. So venue is proper where the baby is born. Greenville. My baby was born in Aiken, South Carolina. So how am I going to even contest an adoption, even if it's in the newspaper? If I didn't register, how am I even going to contest it? I don't live in Greenville. On top of being served with an improper notice. So I drove to Greenville the first business day. And I contested the adoption with my handwritten rejection, pro se. I came back, I obtained legal counsel. I then found out venue was proper in Aiken, not Greenville. Served with an improper notice. They changed venue without notifying me, nor my party. Yeah. They didn't even name me they didn't name me. But, and then they knew I registered on the Responsible Father Registry. And it showed where they checked the database on the 13th before. I had an emergency hearing April the 7th. The judge didn't approve of the secretive nature of the adoption and the racism exhibited by the biological mother and her family. I then realized that the courts in Greenville, the venue that was improper, signed off on what they call unusual and exceptional circumstances. So a child can only leave the state if they have some type of mental, physical, or an emotional disability. In my daughter's case, it was her mixed race. My daughter was in San Diego, California. In fact, February the 19th was the day that it was clear, because it takes about 8 to 9 days for the interstate compact for placement of children to clear. And I realized in medical paperwork that the biological mother was actually induced to expedite the process. Fast forward, I had to wait 6 months. So the biological mother could have came back and fought me, right? I was awarded physical custody May the 3rd. So I missed about 81 days of my daughter's life. I didn't even know belly buttons fall off. Yeah, it's crazy, right? I didn't even know belly buttons fall off. I missed everything, but it's okay. It's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay, but it will be, because that's why we're here, right? But anyway, I had to wait 6 months to file TPR, termination of parental rights. When 6 months passed, I filed for the TPR. A month later, the biological mother actually came in and signed the rights over again. Intriguing. Well, the rights were already gone, right? I mean, you already literally stole my daughter. She was literally trafficked. She should have never left the state. My constitution and my state rights are violated. I did everything to be constitutionally protected. I proved that I was physically healthy because I had an aneurysm. I proved that I could provide a safe and healthy environment. I proved that I could financially take care of my child. I proved the amount of deceit and racism exhibited. I had everything. I documented everything and never knew that it would work. I never knew. I was just being a responsible parent. Being a responsible parent. That's it. January came. Went to court and I removed the mother's name from the birth certificate and I was awarded sole custody. But I kept every birth certificate. I think it's super duper important just to have, my daughter deserves to know where she comes from. It's my responsibility, you know? But the mere fact my daughter was on the verge of losing her name, her culture, and her identity, haven't we seen that before? The mere fact that if I didn't take the necessary precautions of just being proactive and being a dad, I wouldn't even be here. And even though I was still responsible and I took the necessary steps, I was still thwarted in the process. Everybody, all of them, everybody works together, the lawyers, the doctors, everybody. That's why it's called the industry. The adoption industry, right? So now it's like, well, I didn't know it. I didn't know at the time. Again, I was traumatized and still deal with it. And it don't go anywhere. It doesn't. But I deal with my pain by helping others. And I began to realize that your career is what you paid for. Your calling is what you made for. And everything that I wanted in life came on the other side of pain and walking in my proper person and being able to get back and being able to be of service. So it transitioned from the dead who fall to the dead and now helps others, because 99% of dads who experience what I experienced failed. And if I can be honest, on top of being a Black man, where I could be easily marginalized as a deadbeat or a dope boy, and just because of my position in society and I don't have money, and just because a family has more money, that makes them a better parent than me. What? Okay. So now our intent is we're pushing legislation right now. I was going with the attorneys and the legislators yesterday, and pre-filing this actually, it was the day before, but we've been going back and forth, and it just seems that people are just it's not priority. But I'm playing the game to win the game. Playing the game to win the game. I think it's everybody. And again, if we can't come together for the sake of our children, what can we come together for? So in the midst of this this draft, and what we want to work towards is adoption being the absolute last, adopting out of the state being the absolute last resort, because it's about inclusiveness, right? Adoption isn't bad, it's just for children without a family. Don't come steal somebody's child and make it seem like they don't have parents, right? So making sure that if a child has to be taken out of a household, whatever the reason, they're still family. Let's reach out to the let's reach out to the dad, right? Let's make sure that there's a revocation period. Let's not make a mother sign paperwork right after epidural medication. But we don't, now everybody, yeah, they know the problem. It's just nobody's really paying attention because it's all about the money. And at the end of the day, if I'm just being honest with you, but we're being very strategic and making sure that we have a national responsible father registry in conjunction with every state. Because the registry is in the state of South Carolina. It's an online database. Let's say in Texas, let's say a responsible unmarried man in Texas, right? He has to know the mother's driver's license number, social security number. He has to know all her information, right? Georgia is an actual, it's like a $9 fee. In the state of Utah, it costs about $4,000 to $5,000 in attorney fees just for a dad to even qualify, even register. Ain't no way. The Responsible Father Registry was never actually created or enacted to benefit fathers. It was actually created to secure adoptions. It just worked out in my favor. There's no government funding behind it. Nobody knows about it. No advertisement. It's just the story in the movement. So our intent is to push the National Responsible Father Registry in conjunction with each database. So let's say, for example, if the biological mother would have moved to North Carolina, right? I live in South Carolina, literally across the border to North Carolina, where there isn't a registry. I probably wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. I would still be fighting, trying to figure out why. Family preservation is not prioritized within the adoption industry. Exactly. You hit it on the head. It's not. But the things that stand in the way become the way. Obstacles are the way. And in the midst of this challenge, I had to really reprogram my mind and really understanding that the blessing, the opportunity is within inside of that challenge. And that we're in a very unique space to push it forward. So now it's like, okay, well, what about the other kids? So you see the space behind. Our kids literally laid down the towel, put the conjunctions in the wall. So we wanted to focus on preventative and premature measures. We want to get the kids before they even can think about even having babies. Right, let's push the curriculum in the schools. So we're in the schools, we're in the Department of Juvenile Justice. We're working with universities, right? You know, we're pushing curricula. I did a training this past week, people from all over the country. So we're literally making sure that we have language and it promotes inclusiveness to create safe spaces that are gender specific and trauma responsive with the intent of engaging fathers and families, because there's a gap in society in the shape of fatherhood, right? So I don't want to sound like I'm going down a rabbit hole, because I got a lot of information to share. I know you wanted me to share my story and, you know, where we are now. But right now, again, we're just continuing to build the awareness strategically and working with, you know, other organizations and really just teaching them, because they don't know what they don't know. And then training those future legislators and lawyers while simultaneously rearing up the youth to be responsible parents as well. So this is delayed gratification. I probably won't even be here to see it. We're not going to see, the change until 3 to 4 generations, but we got to at least plant the seed and get on the same accord and really be able to speak the same language, right? And language is super duper important. And I say that because let's say if I say communication, right? Or I say, Marcie, well, what's your definition of communication, right? In your perception, you may have your own definition of communication. I might have my own definition of communication. We don't want to take for granted that everybody has, their own understanding and perception of words, but what is our language? Like once we all continue to speak the same language, we're able to push the needle forward, right? And collaboratively, incorporating everybody in an inclusive way. This affects everybody. It's not a black thing, it's not a white thing. There are structural impediments in place, but when we show that united front like that of a symphony, I mean, the government works for us. We don't work for the government. I mean, I'm just being real. Leveraging the system to create our own system, and it starts with education. And communication opens up the door for education. It's just a matter of actually, pushing the needle in that, being forward and being real. My biological was never contacted, never. Wow, that's heavy. I see the group, I see the chat. I'm gonna go back and read some of this too. I see it popping up every now and then. Let's see, adoption should be abolished. Ooh, heavy, Andrea, heavy. And again, I'm here to learn. I think the adult adoptees, y'all have the experience, and really just guiding it and showing what it could potentially be. And I commend you all just for showing up every single day. I commend each of you for showing up every single day, because you never know what it takes for somebody to show up. And I don't want to take that for granted. And Marcie, again, just appreciate you for just creating this space. I mean, you said 3 years, every Friday, that's consistency, that's commitment, But it's on us. But at this time, I guess I kind of digress, Marcie, and I open it up for any questions that you all may have. But thank you all.
Thanks, Christopher. We really appreciate you coming on tonight and sharing your story. And, first of all, I want to congratulate you on your hard work and getting your daughter back.
Thank you.
And channeling all that loss, that anger, that trauma into helping others and moving through legislation, because we know how difficult that is. So yeah, we're just thrilled that you're here with us tonight. And I know the attendees have a lot of questions for you. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, very good. Okay, I think Randall was the first one that has his hand up. So Randall, you want to go ahead and ask Christopher the first question?